Councilwoman Bozak. Here. Councilman Living. Councilwoman McCarr. Here. Councilwoman Scott. Here. Approval of February 8th, 2023 meeting minutes. So moved. Second. More discussion. Roll call. Councilwoman McCarty. Yes. Councilwoman Bozak. Yes. Councilwoman Scott. Yes. Councilwoman McCarr. Yes. Report. Clerk Treasurer. I just wanted to report on some of the property or the House and Senate bills that are going through. I attended that meeting last Wednesday. I appreciate you moving the council meeting so I can attend. The House bill, the personal property tax bill has been sent to committee. The House bill that was referring to the residential property tax cap being dropped to 1.95 and freezing the town's ability to spend or its growth factor of 3% for the next 4 years has gone on to the Senate. House bill that related to 1085 that related to the TIF and the adjustment to the board makeup and some of the many other things associated with that, 20% going to the school, etc. That also was sent to committee. And then Senate Bill 219, which is a voluntary mandatory, or I guess mandatory voluntary is wrong, but voluntary annexation or super annexation bill. It also might affect the town if they were interested to move forward with any type of annexation in the future. That bill has been sent from the Senate to the House. So those are still bills we're watching. And what does that mean? So basically they're saying that the town can't force an annexation. The people that own the property have to volunteer or be agreeable upon or approach the town and ask to be annexed. Okay. So and of course the languages are ever changing, right, as they go through amendments, etc. But right now those are the couple that I felt would affect the town most when it comes to finances and other things that you guys have been looking at in the past. So that's all I have for now. I'm good right now, thank you. Nope. Angie? No. Welcome back. And we have Tyler with us today. Clay's not here. Do you have anything?
Just on Oak Leaf Lane, we continue to regularly reach out to Cleveland Cliffs. Have not heard back. We continue to reach out. The quick claim deed, we're just waiting on the documents.
Okay. Thank you. Town engineer, Barton.
Oh yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, no.
Hi, yeah, we received bids for the Community Crossings Matching Grant 2022-2 project. Bids were opened publicly on March 6th, 2023 at 4 p.m. in the Burns Harbor Town Hall. We received 3 bids from Reith Riley Construction Company, Milestone Contractor North, and FH Passion. The apparent low bidder and responsible bidder was Reith Riley Construction for $1,092,817.15. We did send a bid recommendation for approval and execution to you to accept the Reith Riley bid in that amount. And this is below budget. We do have the funds to take care of this and look to you guys for a motion.
That's number 200 new business for those of you that are looking at that. Okay.
I will make a motion to grant permission to accept, Reith Riley, and to grant permission for Jennifer to sign the notice of award and the contract.
Second. Discussion. Roll call. Councilwoman Bozak.
Yes.
Councilwoman Scott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Biancardi. Yes. Councilwoman McCarr.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And we should have final plans for the salt dome structure at the next meeting. And then we will talk about a bid schedule at that time. And that's all that I have.
Thank you, Martin. Martin, does that need to be on the agenda?
Yeah, I'll be sending the plans ahead of time for you to review, so you'll have that before you print out the next agenda. I'll have it a week before the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Building Commissioner, Chuck?
No report.
Department Superintendent. Brown?
One of the homeowners that we sent out letters to in reference to his tree that's been doing a great job, has been working on diligently. He's taken down 5 of the big trees along South Loop Road that were on dangerous tree list, and he is also working with the neighboring property to the south of him, and he's going to take his trees down as well. Oh, he's doing a great job. Just waiting for this weather to break. We're starting to get things wrapped up to start doing some spring cleanup, working on signage and warm weather.
I have a question. I have 2 questions really quick for Chuck. The truck that you drive, is that's supposed to be parked inside the garage?
Is it what? I'm sorry.
The truck?
Yes.
Is that supposed to be parked outside?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be parked inside the garage.
You want to be parked inside the garage?
Yes.
Sure.
Which garage do you guys want to park in? That's the problem, yeah, it wasn't ours, with all of our equipment and stuff that we've been moving around and stuff that's in there, that's why we put it over by behind the fire department where it's safe. We had talks with Chuck on that. Rob's the same way, they got a lot of equipment moving around, so. You don't know which one you want to do, something else.
Did we get cameras in the parking lot?
Yes,
Yes,
all 4 corners of the street from building, yeah.
no matter, I'll make room, I just need to know where you guys want
No,
it.
I'm just curious on that too. Okay. I'll let you know.
We just got new stuff.
Because I know that we're supposed to be, and that's not where, where we said that it was supposed to be, is not where it's
So
at.
it wasn't ours for a
Nobody-
little bit, and
Right.
it is.
But if it's not being done in the way that it should be done, then the council needs to be notified that there's been a change there. And as far as the cameras go that are in the back, is there like a login or something that you can share with the council so we can access those as well?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll let you know about the truck.
Commercial, Jerry?
Give my report, but I think most of the other stuff is stuff that I had forwarded to Jane and Jane had sent out. Most of it was chapter 8. I know that you guys probably just got it and haven't had a chance to really look through it, but chapter 8, there was a lot of changes that we made. The draft's been sent out. Obviously, once we have the ability to be able to send that to potentially put that into ordinance form, that'd be fantastic. The other thing would be our job descriptions that I went through. We created a new position to be able to have a detective title, something that we've never had before. And along those lines, when that actually would get approved, I also have one of our officers, Wayne James, who on April 16th, he'll hit his 1-year mark, and I'd be looking to potentially promote him to corporal. And then he'll also retain the title of detective, which is a secondary title, the way it's labeled in our job descriptions. But I'd like to promote him to corporal effective for April 26th. That'll be after his 1-year anniversary. It'll be the beginning of a new payroll. And yes, it's in my budget. We budgeted for that line item. The money's in there. And it's not a significant raise. It's 46 cents per hour. But yeah.
So to what Jeremy said, I did go through chapter 8 with him as well. Well, they did it, sent it to me. And I had a couple questions that he cleaned up and answered for me. So I would recommend that we send that to the attorney now and have it set to ordinance form so that we could read that. I guess we'd have to have it first, right, Jane, then set the public hearing. So what he sent, have them set it up like an ordinance, have that here next month and say, this is what we want to set for public hearing.
I don't believe you have to have a public hearing for every ordinance, so I guess it depends on what's in the language of.
Well, it's the one that does talk about fees.
Okay, then it was, yes.
Yeah, So, if everyone's okay, if we can send that on to the attorneys to set it in ordinance form.
Yeah.
I think it's ready. It's not many major changes.
The only other thing in there is the Salt Creek Road thing that we asked for clarification.
Yeah,
about.
so the speed limits, all town roads were 15. And there's a couple that are 30. But the sign on Salt Creek is 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So
But
you.
our town code specifically right now, under the 15 mile per hour zone is Salt Creek Road.
And it should be 15. I think it's just the sign somehow got overlooked at some point. When we did that originally, because I said, I would suggest to him, especially with the daycare on that road, that all the, I mean, the old, where I was like, yeah, residential.
No, it's all-
I'm like, we're not getting anywhere here.
No, like, well, 30, I'm very comfortable with 30. I don't order, but
We had 6 lanes on Boo, and it's northwest Boo. And 15, I was like, 15 around. I think chapter 8 is ready for an ordinance. Their job descriptions are, I don't know if you all looked at them, they are great, they are in our style. I also looked at those and just made the recommendation that we include like weight, like how much someone needed to lift, and make sure that like what they need to do in a day is listed, and that would be, in the event we had workman's comp or needed to try to accommodate a position, all that information is in there. But I think those are good as well.
yeah, those were everything that you had spoke
Yeah.
about, we addressed them.
And I couldn't remember, I know we've worked on job descriptions in the past, and I don't know that have we in the past, Jane, approved them here, or? Okay, all right, so then I guess I would ask that if you haven't had a chance, that be on the agenda next month for us to approve. And then, I would make a motion that Wayne be promoted on effective April 16th,
26th.
effective 26th of April to corporal.
Second. Discussion?
Angie, was that you?
Yes.
Thank you. Roll call. Councilwoman Scott,
Yes.
Councilwoman Biancardi,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bozak,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCart. Abstain. And that included the pay raise, correct? Did I catch that?
I was right, I said corporal, so I just assumed I got it to that rate.
Thank you. Yeah, for clarifying. Thank you.
Is that all you have?
Is that all I have? Yeah, everything else is on the thing agenda, so I'm done.
Bill, fire chief?
The only thing I have is to tell you guys that you don't have your reports in your email because I forgot to send them. It's done, so. Apologize. Regular, I'll ask them tonight.
I'm sorry.
No vacation request?
Third time. No, I'm calling us for that. What's that?
Yeah.
That threw us all off. We got it all.
Well,
Maybe on James.
what is that? No, I will send it. Sorry. But other than that,
And stormwater and sanitation.
we're doing good there. We're waiting for weather to break to get some. After winter maintenance done and clean our first round of season for lift station to try to keep them clean, so they. Gearing up for that and hopefully, we're your second week of April, second and third week of April, we'll do our. Clean. So that and, that's it.
I do have something for that. Stormwater still needs a third person, and I had talked to Jim Constantine at our last meeting, and he said that he would be interested in sitting on the board, which is nice because he also sits on sanitation. So I'd make a motion to appoint Jim Constantine to the stormwater board.
Second. Discussion? Roll call? We didn't have anybody else interested? Don't say.
And Marsh, you want to do it?
He actually was wanting off sanitation.
Okay.
He expressed at one of the sanitation meetings as the board makeup would change to what it should be, he was willing to step down. He'd be the one. We asked him and Jim and he said he would want to step down.
Roll call please. Councilwoman Bicardi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bozak?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scott?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCart?
Yes.
I also, I know there's been some things going back and forth between the engineer and Corinne and Bill about MS4 ordinance that needs to be reviewed by the council and adopted. I believe it needs to be adopted next meeting. Corinne, does that sound right? To stay
Was suggesting first reading at the next meeting.
So I believe it was sent to you. It's very lengthy. In fact, I don't know, I wouldn't even consider it being in an ordinance format, Tony, if you looked at it, if you had an opportunity.
46 pages.
It's very long. So, it may need to be forwarded to the attorney to be put in some type of ordinance format.
Yeah, yeah, but it doesn't have the whereases and all that, or sections or anything that's.
Yeah, and so, maybe, Corinne can forward that to Clay's office in preparation for first hearing next month, because I think we're on a timetable situation.
I'm also not sure what chapter that should go in, so tell me maybe you have some advice statement to do. I'm thinking 4 or 14, but.
Harper? Yes, hello, everybody. This Sunday, the 19th.
Just take your name for the record.
It's been a long time. I meet someone. So this Sunday, the 19th, Lake Lynn Park will be hosting their spectacular Easter egg hunt promptly at 2 o'clock. So we are encouraging families to arrive at 1:45. This is a free event for children with special needs and their families. Also, the general egg hunt will also start promptly at 2 o'clock. And it will be divided up by age groups up into the age of 12. Anybody who is wanting to volunteer for this event, please contact the park director at Lakeland Park. And that's all I have. Thank you.
RDC. Well, we're working on moving forward with the Westport things as a trail, and we're up against the BAT deadline at the end of the month, so. Lots going on, but nothing of significance to report tonight.
Thank you. Shared ethics, we need a representative.
Yes, Rob, I reached out to Rob, as I said I would. He's had some health issues and asked that we maybe replace him, that he didn't feel comfortable committing to attending. They meet at the NERC building in Portage 2 times, every other month. But it's during the day. I think it's at 8:30, if I remember correctly, whatever the email I sent you said. So this person cannot work for the town, they cannot be on any other current board, they just have to be a citizen of the town to represent them for the shared ethics position. And so I think Fran put it on the website, and we're trying to reach out to people, if you know someone that might be interested, that has the availability at that time of the day to attend. Guess we're still looking.
Okay. What happens if we go so long without having a representative from Bruce Harbor?
The last the email I forwarded to you, they shared with me, because they said we hadn't had representation in a while. That's typically not, they hadn't done that in the past, at least directly to me. So if that's what they're going to continue to do, at least we would be in the loop about the activities they're doing.
Okay.
I think I reported on that they were going to do more train the trainer, they were gonna have a department head ethics training.
And we
and
don't have
other stuff.
a penalty for not.
No, I don't think so. Although anybody who is running for an elected position probably saw something in the mail recently from them asking them just saying, so if they're interested in doing that, they should take care of that as well. So that's all. Thank you.
Correspondence. Item registration for Ports of Indiana Burns Harbor Portage. Item approval FESOP administrative amendment for Worthington Steel Porter. Burns Harbor Redevelopment Commission 2022 annual treasury report in accordance with IC 36-7-24-8. Burns Harbor Clerk Treasurer 2022 annual financial investment report. And Porter County elections and registration will not need to utilize Burns Harbor's voting location for the primary election. And then we have the presentation of resolution.
I have one.
Oh, okay.
I just have a quick question. For this first one, it's the second page.
That's Jeremy's asking me to move stuff.
No, I know, but there's only one thing for uniforms, but there's nothing for office supplies.
Because I believe the item for office supplies is something he and I could do internal.
Okay.
Without,
That's what I was making sure.
sorry,
I read the whole thing.
sorry, yeah.
Okay, resolution 2023-02, Town of Burns Harbor appropriations transfer be hereby resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Burns Harbor, Porter County, Indiana. That the following transfer funds being made within the Marshall Department's 2023 budget: $5,250 from uniform allowance 2-129 and the uniforms 2-244. Motion second. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilwoman Biancardi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bozak?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scott?
Yes.
Councilwoman Picard?
Abstain. Resolution. Which one am I reading?
Oh, so, sorry, I put a sticky note on it. You don't understand my sticky note?
No, but I mean,
Okay,
so
everything got sticky notes. Right. Oh, that's true. At the last council meeting, we had, the council made a motion to change the salary ordinance for some of the police staff.
Okay.
And the EMS staff.
Okay, that's on this one.
But, Clay would like that reaffirmed, at this meeting, since we only had 3 people here, and one of them typically abstains from voting for police matters. At the last sanitation board meeting, there was a recommendation to increase one of the sanitation, laborers' pay, but that has to be decided at the council meeting, and so I put them as 2 separate ones. They both have the same numbers. Right, so you're gonna adopt one or the other, and we're gonna discard the one you don't adopt.
Well, I would suggest we adopt the one with the sanitary labor.
I
That
didn't-
includes all.
Right,
But then
I didn't assume,
It's very.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to assume what the council wanted to do, and so I gave you the same 2 choices, but you've only adopted one anyway. Got it?
I just read the title.
Clear as mud, right? Yes.
Resolution 2023-04, amending resolution 2022-24-2023 salary and wages for the town of Burns Harbor, Porter County, Indiana. So moved.
Second. Discussion.
And as I said, those were increasing our probationary officers who were going off probation and increasing the EMS staff, and then the sanitary labor position, a part-time labor position wages for the people in the audience.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bozak,
Yes.
Councilwoman Scott,
Yes.
Councilwoman Biancardi, yes, Councilwoman Picard.
Abstain. I like to read the title of ordinances, right?
Yes.
Ordinance 316-2023, an ordinance of the Burns Harbor Town Council amending the text of chapter 15 zoning concerning accessory buildings and accessories within uses within the town of Burns Harbor, Indiana. So I read through this. What changed?
So what changed is the way things were adopted in the past, there was conflicting stuff. So then when Corinne entered it, they covered each other.
Okay.
There's technically 2 sections of accessory buildings right now. We're eliminating
Okay,
the secondary input, which conflicts with the shipping container ordinance, I believe.
okay, so it's
They have the same number.
cleaning up
Absolutely.
conflict,
Yeah.
not changing language or anything, just cleaning.
Yeah, it's removing duplications.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I was reading it and I'm like, wait, let's change.
Yeah. That was when we got in a rush in the
Got it.
past.
Yep, so moved. Second,
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Scott,
yes.
Councilwoman Biancardi,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bozak,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCart.
Yes. Ordinance 317.
Does this need to?
Is an emergency. Yes, it will need adopted twice. We can do that tonight or we can do that tomorrow.
I think we should, because we're gonna be in the building season soon that way. I'll make a, we're going to motion to suspend the rules. Thank you. I was gonna call it an emergency.
We need like an emergency button.
I know.
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
I missed who seconded. I felt like it came from, okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
And you're aware that everybody has to be unanimous on this, right? Yeah. Councilwoman Biancardi.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bozak.
Yes.
Councilwoman Scott.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCart.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 316-2020.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bozak. Everybody. Councilwoman Bozak. We're fine over. Councilwoman Scott.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Biancardi.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCart.
Yes. I sure can. Ordinance 317-2023, an ordinance of the Burns Harbor Town Council amending the text of chapter 4 building code concerning applications for permits within the town of Burns Harbor, Indiana.
Same thing, Jeremy?
So this was actually an addition that was requested by the building department because when they do their application, there was never a requirement in our town code that said that they had to put easements on there. It's required on the actual building permit already, but there's nothing to back that up in town code, so that's literally all it's doing. So we are.
Second.
No, you're okay.
Roll call.
I'm still writing it.
Sorry.
Councilwoman Scott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Biancardi.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bozak.
Yeah.
Councilwoman McCart.
Yes.
I make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bozak.
Yes.
Councilwoman Scott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Biancardi.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCart.
Yes.
And then I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 317-2023.
Second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Scott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Biancardi.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bozak.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCart.
Yes.
Thanks. I think, again, we're almost in building season. It's supposed to involve these. That's why I felt like, we could, you know, yeah, get that ready.
Great. New business. Staff anniversary recognition. Brandon Downey will be having his 2 years or had his 2 years. Yeah. Thank you, Brandon. We've already covered the community crossing grant with Martin. And number 3 is EMS budget. So tonight, Roseanne, Stan and I had a meeting. Pretty much just open the books financially, to look at where we can get money or find money. Financially, it's not there, so unless somebody can come forward before the next meeting and give us an idea of how to help fund this ambulance service, that would be great. Otherwise, there will be a tough meeting. Building department, ice and water damage. There was an email in February.
Basically, the insurance company won't cover it.
Right,
The work, I'm assuming mold and stuff is starting to grow. So whether the council wants to do that as a, excuse me, as an internal project, or if they want to contract that out. But I would guess that it's been a couple of months, so it probably needs to be tore out at the least for health reasons for the people that work down there.
So we need to,
Yeah, find money.
or.
Well, I
Or
understand, I guess you decide, do you want to do any of the work in-house, or do you want to quote it out? I guess that would be the first step.
You have the ability to do it in-house? Or is it best to?
I think the biggest problem, I think that
Sorry.
I think the problem is where the office portion of the building meets the shop portion of the building. I think it's improperly flat between the two, and that's where our problem is stemming from. And the insurance adjuster agreed with me when I brought that up, because the majority of the problem is on the south side of the building in Chuck's office. And it's from the middle of his office all the way over to the west wall. And I think it's gonna be a pretty significant job where that roof is gonna have to come off, or lack of better terms, to reflash everything and make sure everything's sealed well.
so are you saying you wanna contract it out then?
I think that would probably be best. With the ice and water field that needs to be going on.
I don't disagree, but I was just asking, I think the question was, do you have the ability to do it?
We don't have the ability to properly flash it.
Okay, so then we need to get bids.
The roof was just recently replaced.
Yes,
What is the town's
2 years ago. Jim?
that, ability to go after the people that did it? I guess I just.
I don't know. anything.
Yeah, happy to look into it. Like, no.
Is there a warranty on it? Yeah.
Send out on a license large. Should be some kind of one.
Right.
I don't know if. I don't remember.
Okay, so, somebody you look into if there's a warranty.
So in the meantime, can the walls be pulled out, the ceiling pulled out, that kind of thing that's growing, whatever's growing?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that needs to be contracted out or can be done in-house either, but.
So I'm not trying to be mean when I say this, but do we know it's growing? Because we did, I'm not saying it's not, but we did the inspection here first. So is that where we need to start? Like have someone come inspect it and say, or do we just start tearing it out? I'm just asking.
I felt like pictures were sent. It's very obvious. There's some water damage going on. There was pictures sent of a rug that grew something very disgusting that got thrown out, and that was also, involved. So you're right. I mean, I'm not an expert.
No,
but it got very wet and it's very stained. So at a minimum, I mean, yeah, I just don't know if it can not be looked at. Maybe you're right, maybe we call in mold.
Well, because if it's like substantial, then we might need to contact someone to do it. If it's minimal, then maybe Rob and his staff could take it out, but if it's a lot, it might be better to let someone else make sure they get it all.
I just don't know how many more, should it be work done now instead of waiting for the next month to make a decision? Is I know the roof probably needs fixed before you put stuff back, but I don't know if something's growing in the walls and ceiling in the meantime.
What, it was under 1,000 for them to come assess the building last time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was like $400.
Okay, so Rob, can you call someone out tomorrow, call that same company out tomorrow, please, and tell them that we need them out as soon as possible,
Okay. Well,
and then.
Can we have them get bids too in the meantime?
Yeah,
if I may, as long as we're getting bids, would it be possible for me to get bids for the gutters, remember last year when I brought it up? There was literally nothing left of the fascia and the gutters are falling off the back of the building. I mean, Chuck was looking at it the other day. We get one more nasty ice storm and the gutters are probably gonna be laying on the ground or on top of somebody's vehicle or something back there. The building's just falling apart.
I say yes, just bid them separate.
But separately, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, separate project. In the meantime, though, like if it comes back that that's needs work that we can't do. Not knowing how much it's gonna be, I mean, I'd be open if we had a special meeting, because I agree with Jane.
And
We,
yeah,
you know, so if that's what we met for to take care of that, I'd be available. So Rob, get them ASAP.
Yep, I'm writing myself notes.
Okay, at least try to get that person out to check it out right away.
You got it.
I wouldn't even say, sorry, I would even say like, if you see mold growing on the drywall, cut it out. Don't you think?
yeah.
I mean,
Get rid of it.
if you see it, I would,
So it's not just sitting there.
yeah,
More and more.
We'll do it.
Street sweeping invoice. We. If I remember right, this seems like a while ago, we paid for it. And then we got invoiced again. With more money.
The town approved a purchase order in a certain amount to have street sweeping performed last fall. And that invoice was paid, and since that, and the check was cashed. And since then, we've received notice that the town has received notice that the company that did the service believes we owe a significant amount of more money. But none of that extra money was approved by the council.
What
Does
is
it
that
have the
extra money
original?
for?
so,
He billed us for 2 trucks. To come out here and sweep. And I specifically asked him in the email when he said he was gonna. They kept pushing us off. They were supposed to be here in September. September came and went, they didn't show up, I had contacted them in October, October came and went, finally in November, he says, we'll be there tomorrow. I'm even gonna send 2 trucks, we'll get it knocked out. So in the email, I asked him, is it for the same price? And he said, the price will not change, and then they sent us an invoice.
so have you,
And I said, I can't pay this invoice, this is not what was approved.
And you have that email, Jane, do you have that email?
I apologize, I didn't review my emails on that particular on that particular thing.
but did you send Jane that email? So she, okay.
Did they
So I'll have
sell
to
2 trucks for 2 days?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, the invoice was for two days, 2.5 days. The second invoice, well. So bear with me as I refresh my memory. The original purchase order the council approved was for two days for $3,000, in the amount of $3,000. The invoice they sent us originally was dated 11/11. The invoice number 27758 was for $3,000. That was paid. I confirmed that check cleared the bank. And then I was forwarded some invoices from the street department. And then as part of that email was an invoice dated 11/11, same invoice number, and it now says $7,500.
So you already paid an invoice. And then it's
So I paid an invoice, and then somebody altered, I'm assuming somebody from the company altered that invoice that we originally were sent and.
That sounds like an attorney issue here.
It was maybe circled there. But the point is, where do we go from here? This vendor also runs under or operates under 5 different company names. And
We have used them in the past.
oh,
It's a new company that was recommended to me by another vendor that that we used to use.
Well, and then we got another invoice, or somehow another invoice was sent to my office, and it might have been via email again through correspondence. Was dated 11/15. It now has a different invoice. And it's the $4,500, which is the difference between the first one and the second one. And the amount I paid.
I feel like if they want the money, they need to go through the attorneys.
I agree.
And I believe Clay was sent
Yeah.
this documentation, but maybe he's waiting for some direction. from
I think that
US
they-
counsel.
If they call for the money, then we just need to tell them that. Speak to the attorney.
Camera system for town hall and police department buildings.
So looks like you had 3
And then I sent a fourth.
and
Yeah, he came after that last meeting, so I
my
included it.
preference is the no fee after. And there were 2 of those, right? No
Yeah.
monthly or annual fee.
So, not that I just. My preference, honestly, because I dealt with every single contractor that walked through it, and honestly, the guy that we talked to from line 6 that was. The cheapest quote, he seemed like the best option. There's no revolving costs. We have remote access. It's 7 camera systems. The hallways would be audio and video for the clerk's windows and this room. And then there'd be 4 exterior cameras, so the whole parking lot would be covered, all the exits, so.
And how much was that one?
Mine's. $1,918.39. It was the lowest price of the 4.
It was under 2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't,
Okay.
they didn't prepare a PO because I guess we were waiting to. Because there were quotes,
Yeah.
we're waiting for you guys to make a decision.
I make a motion to go with line 6 for the $1,918.39. And to cover that. I guess either from CCD or CDIT, whichever. Is more appropriate.
Second.
Discussion?
When you say that the cameras will cover all of the parking lot, is that gonna cover the same things that Rob's cameras cover as well, or?
What do you mean?
Are we gonna need to readjust things, or are you not really sure where those cameras are?
This is specifically town hall.
But like when you're saying the parking lot, you're
Okay,
talking the parking lot, so you're talking the front of the parking lot and over.
yeah, so there'll be, because we have 2 entrances and exits, I mean, depending on how people drive in the front. We have a drop box that specifically has to be covered as well for the sanitation department, as well as the bus stop. Then there's one that's gonna be able to cover the area which covers the police garage, and there's also gonna be another one that shoots all the way down the exit out here. So there'll be 4 on the outside, which is significantly more than what's in place now. I don't know
What
that,
does that look at?
I'm not gonna tell you that every square inch.
Or they're actually, watch that recycling garbage and making sure that, people are
Right.
dropping. So I guess we'll just have to pay attention and make sure that we're, that you guys are looking at the views and we're not pointing 2 cameras at the exact same thing.
Yeah, because I mean, Rob's won't see anything from up here, like our cameras that'll be here, specifically the bus stop and the sanitation drop box. But we'll be able to see, you won't be able to come or leave without being captured at some point in time. Which is a big thing
Still be needed to.
to
monitor,
Rob,
consider.
yeah, Rob's cameras just handled his building back there.
There's buildings.
Right.
All this season, yeah.
Roll call? I forgot where we were.
Councilwoman Bain Cardi,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bozak,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Scott,
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicole.
Yes. Tax abatement year 2022, paid 2023 for Master Link.
The attorney might be able to speak to this, but I know Clay sent an email indicating that maybe the council would want to allow the town attorneys some time to look back at the resolution that approved the abatement and look in and just refresh our memories about that and determine whether or not there's action that the town needs to take on this. For people in the audience, several years ago, the town council approved tax abatement for a company on 20 called Masterlink. And since then, they have sold to a new owner, and with tax abatement, the council has a right to deny it. It was granted to Masterlink, not the new owners, but because we're paying taxes in arrears, you also have a line in that resolution that allows you to claw back any tax abatement that was granted in previous years based on certain circumstances. So I believe Clay not being here tonight and time being very new that they wanted some more time. And there is time if they need to look at it. And so they just suggested that. So if that's what the council wants, to do.
If we do nothing, that abatement just ends because he's not the property owner anymore.
Well, keep in mind that he applied for tax abatement last year for credit for that abatement this year, because you're paying for taxes in arrears.
Okay, right.
And so potentially that, depending on what the agreement was when they sold the property to this new owner, potentially this new owner could see abatement if the agreement was that the new owner would pay this, last year's taxes, but they'll pay due this year.
Right.
So there's some pieces in that. If the new owner, well, it wouldn't, I believe, and I'm not an attorney, so I guess I shouldn't say that, but my understanding is now that he's not the owner, he couldn't apply for it because he's not the owner. So going forward, it still hangs out there. The county still sees that it was a 10-year abatement. It just wouldn't be approved unless the council approves it each year.
But
when
the
they submit a
question really
CF1.
is 1 year.
Mhm. Potentially, it could be, do you want to claw back that or any other previous ones? It depends on how the language reads in the resolution. You could go back and see, potentially, maybe. Again, I'm not an attorney. I'll leave that to them. But
Makes sense.
but that's my understanding of the
Previous year.
abatement, right? So I think Clay not being here and not having the information, I think we just emailed it earlier this week or late last week, so it's still something they probably need some time to look at. But I wanted to put on your radar because CF1s are going to be, I would assume CF1s are going to be coming in from Lindsay and Cleveland Cliffs here shortly because they'll be due here soon. So just wanted to put it on your radar and see what you guys want to do if you want to direct the attorneys to look at this further.
I would say yes for that 1 year. I mean, if it would not be Masterlink that benefited from it, I mean, I guess I want to know what we can do.
We can't make a motion. Does that need a motion or just? I think you can just direct, the attorneys to take care of it.
We'll look into it. We just were waiting to hear if you guys want us to.
Yep.
Approval of February 2023 financial report. So
Second.
discussion. Roll call.
Councilwoman Bozak,
Yes.
Councilwoman Scott,
Yes.
Councilwoman Biancardi.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCord.
Yes. Approval to pay vouchers with 3 or more signatures.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Councilwoman Scott,
Yes.
Councilwoman Biancardi.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bozak,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCord.
Abstain. Approval of purchase orders submitted with 3 or more signatures.
So moved.
Discussion.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Not discussion. Roll call.
Councilwoman Biancardi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pisak?
Yes.
Councilwoman Scott?
Yes.
Councilwoman Nicole?
Abstain. Old business. ADA transition plan review and status update.
So the plan for this year, for lack of response from departments other than the park, is to redo all of their handicap parking spots. They have 4. They need the van lane and signage. And then to add, I'm not gonna say the right words, but I call them rumble strips at the end of the trail that leads onto the drive. So all the parking spots and that on the sidewalk. And then when the weather gets nice, Kim will get some quotes for the parking lot and the other piece that needs to be done. And I am not sure that it would all be used. So if someone comes back around and needs some, then
Tony, I did order signs for the park last year when we ordered signs for. To update this one and the tunnel,
they're just like this. That,
the van accessible.
okay, do you know if they're at a right height and all of that? Because there's a certain height they have to be.
I didn't order posts, I just ordered the signage itself.
Okay, all right, well, we'll make sure when they get quotes that we need the signs, thank you, but we might have to get new posts or something to make sure
Okay.
they're the right height. Yeah, but if there's, monies left, which Jane keeps track of all of that in detail for us, then we could come back around and ask if, there's other projects.
Sanitary board membership, we're still looking for an engineer.
I had reached out to BLC, via phone conversation I had, and he said he was traveling. Please email him. I've emailed him 3 times without a response. I'm going to assume because he's been relocated to the Maryville office. And he's still doing a lot of duties here and in Maryville and stuff, that maybe it's not an option with DLZ. If I hear something other than that, I will certainly inform you, but that was the thought I had, so I don't know. If Global would assign one of their engineers to sit on it. I know he's not comfortable doing that, but if that's what we have to do, we're already paying somebody to be at that meeting. I guess I could let Corinne, that's her boss, her job, to talk about that board, but so I was not successful in getting somebody from DLC as I had hoped. So.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Has Larry been at the meetings?
He was on the last meeting, the meeting prior, he was not.
It'd be nice if Cleveland says could provide that person.
They don't have anybody. They contract out for, PE services. They don't have anybody on staff.
Body camera decommission matter.
I got nothing. I'm still waiting on a response to see the direction they want to go, if they're still interested or not. So next month, hopefully I'll have an answer.
Do we have to wait to decommission something to get a plan for it?
The town's insurance that covers those pieces of equipment, it's a blanket of X number of dollars, so if he were to say this got damaged and we needed it replaced, it would be covered. So I don't know that it necessarily needs to be decommissioned currently, and I would say until it's really out of the possession of the town, we shouldn't cover it. Certainly adequate, but that's typically the insurance, well, of course, it's the insurance company saying until you no longer have it, you should cover it.
Pre-employment background check policy. Jane and Jeremy were looking into this.
Yeah, I think we kind of got a consensus. Main thing is that, so checking, like, we don't have the authority, like, I can't run a criminal history on any employee that we hire. So from the other municipalities, I think the direction that we have to go with is we can set up an Indiana.gov account. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, yeah, there's a cost associated with it as far as each time we hire somebody, but I mean, I guess our employee turnover isn't that bad where it's gonna bankrupt us. I mean, I think it's a minimal amount to when we're hiring somebody. I think maybe I'm using the wrong term, but I think the other thing that we came across was coming up with a conditional offer of employment. Then that would allow us to be able to do these background checks at that point. Once the offer of employment was extended, the police department then can also do a limited local background check, which I don't have a problem doing. We do that for all of our applicants now. That could be included as well. And I offered to Jane, if the police department wants to handle all the background checks for all the departments, that's totally fine. The other question that came up that Jane brought up was references though. Like, I assume, I mean, I call references for my employees, but I mean, I would assume that all the department heads would want to call those references themselves. Because I don't want to make the judgment for you. I mean, you guys are the ones working alongside of them, not me. So that's something that we kind of need a consensus on, that, you know, that department head or that person making that hire would be responsible for contacting references. So, but there's no clear direction right now.
We were able to get some sample forms from City of Valpo, because they do many of these things too. It seemed like the consensus from talking to the communities around us is many of them do utilize their police departments to take care of a lot of those references. I certainly would feel comfortable having our police department do some of those checks and only passing on information that's necessary to be passed on, as far as, hey, you know, what this person, what concerns me or what I think maybe needs some discussion is similar to us doing a driving record background check. The officers have this criteria set. It's not subjective. It's do they pass or don't they? And as far as criminal background checks, then what is that tangible decision? So that we don't end up having somebody decide, you know, without any criteria, and we end up in court and can't our attorneys can't defend us because we didn't, you know, have this written guide so that we treat everybody the same. Also, we didn't run into the conversations I had with some of the local people, the communities around us, were not very many of them do financial background checks. And I would feel more comfortable if we tried to look into doing that for people that are have access to sums of money. You know, the police clerk takes maybe $10, $20, maybe every couple of days, maybe $50, $80 at the most in a week. That would be covered under a blanket bond that the town has. But Ren, on the other hand, takes my office, basically, I'm teasing her, but handles a lot of money. And although I am bonded, and she also is bonded under the blanket bond too. I mean, we're bonded, but, you know, to protect the town, would it not be wise to spend a few dollars every once in a while when and if those positions who handle a lot of money change?
Yeah.
Certainly an elected official, they're elected whether you like it or not, and their financial background is going to be what it is, and they can't be bonded, they can't hold office, but you know, any staff that work in that office. And so I'd like to pursue that, you know, that as well. And I don't, you know a lot about that yet. We're still kind of looking around. I guess we need some thoughts, guidance, ideas. Should we move forward? What is the correct, you know, do you want criteria? Do you want it to be, you know, I don't know.
Well, I definitely think whoever's doing the hiring should be calling for the reference checks. I mean, that makes sense. I like the idea of a conditional offer, because then you can say based on these things, right? And in terms of like the background that I get for all of that, did Valpo have a standard? Or anything they were willing to share?
They indicated their police chief takes care of that, so maybe Jeremy, I don't know if he could reach out to them and get more, or maybe he has, I shouldn't assume, maybe he already has.
So the issue, I mean, there's one thing, I mean, so convictions are gonna be convictions, and that's gonna be plain as day. I mean, you're gonna either. On your application, you're either gonna say, yes, I was convicted of a misdemeanor or a felony, or you're gonna say no, and then we're gonna confirm that. The issue is. How many times can you be a suspect and how often can you, like, that's a subjective thing when it comes down to it. I mean, I guess the point is I don't know how you set that guideline.
I think you should.
I mean, how much is too much, but I mean, I think you can look at something and say, hey, you know what, okay, this kid was 17 and he made a mistake and whatever. Or you can look at something and say, all right, well, hey, this person's gonna be handling money and they're a suspect in 8 fraud cases. I don't know. And then dig into it and see what, I mean, that would be part of the background check to find out why.
You're saying you'd rather have just a clear cut so that you don't have to look at something and base a decision.
Well, and I guess. I got the impression that when you guys adopted your driving background check policy, and it said they can have this many points, or they can have this, or they have to have their license for at least 3 years and must be at least 18. It was very helpful for the officers that were doing the driving checks to say, yes, 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 no, oh, this guy can't work for us. I'm just saying that, and I, again, will refer to the attorney. If it's somebody's subjective opinion, this person passed, but this person can't. And it depends on who ran the background check. It's maybe chief this week, but next week it's the assistant chief. Their opinion on what's okay and what isn't might be subjective, and would that cause possible lawsuits that the town may not want to have? I'm suggesting we have something, I'm just saying, would it be better that there's some written guidance for whoever's doing the background to say, yeah, I think this person's good, or we need to keep looking, kind of thing. Thought, Jeremy?
I guess my only caution would be, I don't know how you make it black and white if you're talking like, hey, maybe Joe Schmo was a suspect, but was proven that he had nothing to do with it, but that doesn't change the fact that he was named as a suspect. You wouldn't want to automatically eliminate this candidate for a position that handled money if he was a suspect in a fraud case. I mean, if he's proven that he had nothing to do with it, it doesn't change the fact that, like, hey, I have this documentation that he has this investigation. So I wouldn't want to eliminate a quality candidate just for that reason.
Maybe it just needs more digging, more thinking, more talking, I don't know. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'll see if I can come up with a better solution for that, but I mean, I think there's gonna be a point where
It just is subjective.
yeah.
So we'll continue looking at it. We'll keep working on it. Well, I will, Jeremy, you can keep working on it.
If you have something, like if you have something that came up, you know, that was, like, what if there was more than one person being subjective? You know what I mean? Like, what if you say, okay, I have this guy, he was a suspect in this fraud case, but he was never, so then let me present it to this group of people who then as a group has to approve that, that this person is hireable. That way it's just not you or your assistant chief saying no, because
Right.
then it's somebody else who's looking at it, you know? People, things happen sometimes when you're just young and right out of your mom's house, and you know, 8 years later, life is a completely different story.
I mean, I think there's a situation where that can be done. I mean, in my opinion, the only way to do that though, is still, because some stuff probably wouldn't be subject to disclosure in certain things, but that doesn't mean that if 2 other people were a member and I can, hey, here's the case, you know, I'm not gonna name any names, but this is what we have. I mean, this is my opinion on it and you can see it your way. And hopefully we can come up with a consensus. I mean, that could be an option. I mean, to have a two or potentially a 3-member board that looked at it. And make a decision that way. I mean, I think it'd be a rare case anyways. I
Yeah.
mean, normally those people
But it's
probably
gotta be
aren't
prepared.
applying for a job at a municipality just because they know whatever's happened is probably going to preclude them from having employment with us.
Right.
So. But I think that's a good idea.
We'll keep working on it.
Track the appeal process.
Well, I have not talked to Nick, so.
I know Nick
There's no.
He volunteered.
It says Nick volunteered to work with Toby. Yeah, but here are my first thoughts. Like, I understand if, like, I prepay for the year, so if I were to move, would be entitled to get that back. I know there's a question about if I'm gone for several months. My first question would be, is that part of our contract with Republic now? Because that's who we pay. So if we grant an appeal, but Republic doesn't recognize it, it still has to be paid. So I'm just saying, as a matter of what does it say? And then we're ready to renegotiate that this year, right? The contract? Is
No,
that this
this
year?
year, no, it's a 3-year.
Oh, why did it?
Oh, yeah. So I guess I would be interested to see, I don't know, what they, you know. If they're open to something like that, if it's not something they'd rather do for us.
Well, what are some of the appeals, the types of appeals the sanitation board hears now? Typically, right, so you have a policy that somebody prepaid, they decide to sell their home. There is a process that the sanitation board does now where they hear it, it's in the meeting minutes, so state board knows.
Right.
We got permission to pay that money back,
Mhm.
and we do have steps for that. So I would say at a minimum, we would probably want to adopt something like that too. But
Yeah.
what are some of the requests or appeals sanitation board has served in the past that they might?
Really, the overpayment, or we've moved and have been entitled to money. We've had a couple of appeals of the tap-on fee. I mean, I suppose, yes, an appeal process would be necessary for, again, like someone who pays and then moves. But like I said, I feel like to not pay while you're on vacation, that needs to be part of the Republic contract.
Sure. Well, and the Republic the driver who's picking up at the curb, he's not going to track. Mr. Smith left garbage, but Mrs. Smith did, Mrs. Brown didn't.
Just says, okay,
Right,
Yeah.
then it's,
right. It's currently not in our contract,
Okay.
obviously.
right, so if we were to grant that, we're paying it, and that, just as a matter of fact, that's what I'm saying.
I guess, and maybe the appeal process is maybe not the appropriate word to use here. I guess at a minimum, we want some process in place for refunding due money that was overpaid. And I guess I'm using the word appeal process because we've had several residents come before us and ask what their appeal rights are.
Right.
Their trash can get picked up on a particular day or this or that. And so I'm using that term just so that, so you guys, so I'm transparent to you guys know, we've had people ask. And if your decision is valid and we don't get a credit if the trash isn't picked up on a particular day at a particular resident.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's a conversation with our rep to say, it's a responsibility or something, so I'll volunteer Nick to make that phone call.
Okay. But can we move, would anybody object if we move forward with the process of preparing some?
And I think we could probably use a lot of what we've done from sanitary.
I
whatever, so
I expect you. Yeah, okay. Let me write here, volunteer to Nick.
yes, thank you. Could you write that in red on the?
I will do it in Texas.
Corinne's got to write that.
Yeah. First time. Absolutely.
Good over.
Motion to adjourn. Oh. Second. Discussion.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Biancardi.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bozak. Councilwoman Scott.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCarr.
Yes.
Okay. And you